Hi, my name is Dr. Liz Combs. I'm the Director of Undergraduate Studies in the Department of Dietetics and Human Nutrition, and I'm also part of the UKDHN Performance Nutrition and Body Composition Lab team. And here in these videos, we're trying to answer some questions that you might have after receiving your results. And one common question that we receive are, what are general recommendations for increasing lean body mass? So let's say that you were able to have your body composition measured, you have those numbers, and then you want to make some strides in increasing your lean body mass and decreasing your fat mass. Well, we have to go back to physics to a certain extent and think about energy balance. So what we take in as macronutrients, those carbs and proteins as fat, and alcohol contributes to calories and energy. And then how that's balanced with our energy expenditure of the body. So anytime that we want to have an impact on our lean body mass, we have to consider diet as a major contributor. And we want to look at our energy balance. So a positive energy balance means that we have greater input. We're eating more, we're taking in more than we're expending, than we're burning. And then a negative energy balance would be you have greater energy expenditure than your energy intake. So you're burning more than you're taking in. And so when we think about increasing lean body mass, over time, we have a couple of things to consider. But to increase that lean body mass and to decrease your fat mass, more than likely you're going to be burning more calories than you're taking in, while maintaining still an adequate level of calories to fuel your body for exercise. So we don't want to go to any kind of extreme. Main things to consider is that when you want to increase that lean body mass beyond diet, we have to push ourselves as you work. And so we want to have a balance of anaerobic and aerobic exercises, not just leaning only on endurance ones, cardio, running, or getting on that elliptical, but also having some sort of strength training or resistance training included as well. Why we need these two things is because they serve our bodies in very different ways. It's also important to think about, once you get your healthcare provider's approval, figuring out ways to really challenge yourself and get comfortable with the uncomfortable. If we do things the way that they've always been done, then we'll get the results that we've always received. And so we really need to consider, having little bouts of high intensity, interval training, things that are going to really push your body past and challenge it to actually see some changes in results. Secondly, we want to consider a balanced diet. It's not going to be anything that's a real, tip or trick of the trade. It is going to be following a balanced diet with more complex carbohydrates that have fiber. So those things that dietitians love to say, like fruits and vegetables, eating less sugar, less processed foods, and having a balanced intake of protein. So we're talking, taking in amounts of protein, typically around 25 to 30 grams at a meal, not anything too extreme, because the body has a hard time being efficient and using much more than that at one time. And lastly, not being afraid of fat. So fat can sometimes not be the enemy that it has been maybe made out to be, and that levels of poly and monounsaturated fats can be very, very helpful in the long term. So being mindful of a balanced diet, really pushing yourself and having a balance of anaerobic and aerobic exercise, and then also being mindful in your behaviors and the overall, spectrum of wellness. Because anytime that we change one side of that energy balance equation, we can have different metabolic or behavioral changes on the other side. So being mindful of your other health behaviors, getting enough sleep, for example, to have, hormonal balance, and taking care of yourself can have a big impact on this too. If we think about people that are interested in gaining weight, typically we want small, steady gains. And so a target weight gain of maybe 1/4 to 1/2 of a kilogram per week. And we really want to think about regulating weight gain and calorie levels. So not going to, again, an extreme, but having slow, steady gains. For individuals that might want to have some weight loss and increase their lean body mass, first and foremost, we want it to be slow and steady. So trying to have it be less than 1% of your total body weight per week, not these major fluctuations. We are going to need to have some level of calorie deficit, so that negative energy balance that we talked about. So taking in a little bit less than you're burning. not this huge deficit, but small. We need to consider having the adequate protein, so trying to have a little bit of protein at every meal and every snack. Again, moderate amounts, nothing overwhelming to the system. And then lastly, we need to keep that resistance training going, because if we have weight loss, but yet we don't have that balance of activity, we would be losing our muscle mass and our fat mass. But by having adequate protein and adding resistance to your plan, you can help try to maintain your lean muscle mass or even increase it while you also lose some of the excess fat mass. So when you think about goal settings, so our last slide here, really think about assessing your current body composition. So you evaluate the body composition, consider it relative to your goals, what your goals are, and depending upon whether it's your sport or whether your wellness goals. You also want to think about your genetic predisposition for leanness. So, kind of considering what your familial history is, how you are built. And then we encourage you to kind of set goals. So I encourage some individuals to set goals in each of these areas. So maybe a performance goal. So whether it's, running a mile in a certain amount of time, or maybe getting so many steps a day, a weight and body composition goal. So maybe you want to try to reduce your body fat percentage by 2% over a 3.5 month time frame. And then a health goal, whether that be getting more sleep or reducing your intake of caffeine or many other things. And then you might have heard about this before, the acronym SMART, but when you write these goals, I encourage you to make them specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time driven. The more we can, really hone in on a goal, the more likely we are to take steps to make it happen. So I hope that this information has been helpful to you, and we look forward to working with you in the future.